Hi there, my name is Justin. Today I'm going to be giving you a demo of Zite, a new platform for monitoring and management of field-based and remote projects. The demo today is going to cover three parts. First, we're going to focus on setup of the application. Second, we'll be taking a look at the mobile app. And finally, we'll take a little bit more look at the web app and see what teams can do with Zite. Everyone will start here on the login page. People can log in with their own credentials, or they can log in using their Google credentials. Once they log in, everyone will land on a landing page. This is kind of a page that tells you everything you need to know. It'll tell you what your assignments are, key notifications, basic statistics about what you're working on. Before we dive a little bit more into that though, I want to explore a little bit more in depth the way that the application is set up. So Zite is really built around three interlocking components. First are sites. A site is basically something that needs to be monitored. It could be a school, a house, a bridge, a solar panel facility, a community service center, really whatever it is that you and your team are looking to monitor. Anything that you monitor needs to be set up as a site in the system. The second component is users. Each one of your team members will get their own individual username and ID, and through that you'll be able to assign them specific roles and responsibilities of what they need to monitor, what they need to review, or what kind of reporting they need to do. And finally, are forms. Forms are what we actually monitor. You can build custom forms in the system to capture any kind of key sort of data or information that you need. So let's start by creating a form. Let's imagine that we're creating a baseline assessment, and that is capturing key details of our users. We can create that. And this will take us into a form builder. This is actually an open source form builder that is in use by lots of different users around the world. But what we can do with this is we can basically create fully custom forms. We can structure, we can build the question, and then we can choose any one of these 20 or more data types. So we can ask, what is your name? How old are you? We can set that up as a number question. What is your gender? Man, woman, other. And we can ask and we can collect other kinds of information, such as GPS location, date, time. We can take audio, video recordings. We can take photos. We can ask people to submit files. But let's collect a GPS location. And once we're done, we can save this here. Now that we're back on our forms page, we can see right here the baseline assessment form that we've created. So this form is now available for us to use to monitor our sites. And the way we can set that up is either by going to sites, or we can manage things through projects. So a project here is a collection of sites. And for most people, it's going to be a lot easier to set up monitoring around a whole project. If you're building 10 houses or installing 100 solar panels, you're going to want to monitor the same things every time. So if I navigate to my project, here it's test project, I can go in here, I can set up my data structure. And this is where I can basically set up everything that I want to monitor. So down here, you'll see that I have forms. I can set up 3 different types of forms to monitor my site. General forms are exactly that. They're general kinds of monitoring that I need to do. Scheduled forms are things that need to be done on a schedule. So I can assign a form. I can assign it to be completed daily, weekly, or monthly. I can choose which days of the week it needs to be completed on. And I can set a date when it's going to start. Other things that I can do here is I can set a default status, whether something is always open when it comes in, whether things are automatically approved, and I can assign it to specific types of sites or regions. I can also set things up as staged forms. So a staged form is basically something that occurs in sequence. So let's imagine that our baseline assessment is essentially the first stage of our project. It's going to be stage number 1. Every submission that I want to complete will be open. I want to have my team review this as it comes in. I could choose to have this be approved, which is I know that this data is going to be fine, so it's approved. Or it might be a kind of form that I know I want to be flagged, something like a health and safety form, where when this comes in, I want it to already be flagged in the system as something I need to look at. But we'll leave it here with open submission, and we're going to say that it applies to all regions, all types, and all users. So I can assign this, and then we'll see it right there. There is my baseline assessment, and it's now deployed to my site. A couple other things I can do with my data structure beyond sort of the core sets of forms is I can assign project forms. These are forms that don't actually capture data on a site-by-site basis, but might capture sort of data I'm collecting across my whole project, across all of my sites. I can also customize the kinds of sort of meta information or meta attributes that I collect for my site. So all sites will have an ID, a name, a phone, an address, but it may be really important for me that I am capturing something like what province this site is from, or something like this. And I can set up all of those things here in my site information. If I go back to my project, once I'm here, I can also look at assigning my users. So as I mentioned, every one of the users will have a specific role. So right now I only have one user, which is the super admin. But let's say I've created 2 more users in my system. I could choose to assign them as mobile users on my test site, for example. And what that would do is when I click assign down here, it will assign that person to use just the mobile device. Other types of roles include reviewing data as it comes in, editing submission, managing users, managing reports, or overall project manager, as well as things like viewer, partner, consultant, which have sort of limited views into the system. And essentially with that, things are set up. So what I've done now is I've created a site, I've created a form, I've assigned that form to be used on my project, and I've assigned users. Once this is all ready to go, I can move over to the mobile app and I can start using the mobile app in the field. Great. So now once we've got our project set up, we can start to use the mobile app in the field. Our users will use the mobile app to basically monitor project sites and to record the work that they're doing as they do it. With their custom username, each user will be asked to log in. Again, they can use Google credentials or their own username and password. And the first thing that'll happen when they sign in is they'll be confronted with a list of the projects that they've been assigned to. For a lot of locations, especially in field-based projects, it's pretty common to not have that great of internet access. So the first thing that everyone will be prompted to do will to be actually to download their project onto their phone so that the app can work offline. In this case, let's say that we're going out into the field to work on this retrofitting project, and we can choose it. And when we hit sync now, the app will start to download all of the information that we need to be able to work on this app. So now that it's all downloaded, I can click into the project. And once I'm in the project, I can basically see, again, all of the key information. I can see sort of key statistics. If I want to learn more about sort of the basic stats, I can do that there. But most importantly, down here, I can see all of the different sites that are part of the project. Each of these is an individual place that we can monitor. So let's imagine that I'm going out into the field and I'm going to visit IT Sarkis' house. So I click in, and now I can view, again, all of the information about IT here. Same thing, view more will take me to sort of overall information about the site. But critically, I'm now in a position where I can start to actually submit forms. So you'll see here that we have the general forms, the scheduled forms, and the staged forms that we have from the setup. General forms will take me to a list of general forms I've assigned. Staged forms will take me to the sets of stages. If I've set up multiple stages, they can all be here. And then within each stage, I may have multiple forms. If I click on one of these forms, I will be able to move into a spot where I can actually fill out the information. So I can walk through, I can answer each of these questions, I can answer the text-based questions, I can take photographs, I can complete the GPS, and I can work my way through to the end of the form. Once I get to the end, I'll be faced with two options. I can either submit the form right away, or I can save the form for later. If I am in a place with internet access, it's fine to submit it right away. But as we mentioned, most people are often working in places where they don't have internet access. And so it's important to save the form and then be able to submit it back when we have internet access. And so once we're done with that, we could continue to monitor, we could continue to keep monitoring this site by filling out other forms. We could go visit, other sites here, or we could return back to the office and submit the information that we have. So now if I click in here to what is down here saved, this is basically all of my sites and submissions that I've saved. So you can see here that I've completed a number of forms offline, and I can go through and I can basically, I can choose which of these to select. And then as I select them, I can hit upload now. That will upload each one of these forms to the server, and then they can be reviewed in real time. Again, if these submissions are sent directly, you won't have to go through this sort of saving and uploading, but this is a way to help teams be able to work in low bandwidth or offline areas. The other thing that I can do from a site submission or from a site page, besides just looking at submissions, is I can go back and I can see other information about what I've submitted here. So I can look at past pictures that I've taken so that I can see what was happening on this site the last time I was here. I can look at who the other users are. So I can say who else is working on this site and do I need to talk to any of them. I can also view site documents, which I don't have any for this right now, but site documents might be plans or blueprints or something else. Other things I can do from the mobile app include reviewing notifications. As submissions that I send are reviewed or approved or flagged, I'll get submissions here that'll tell me what to do about them. I can also update my own profile where I can look at my own information. I can also look at what I've done. So I can look at my latest submissions. I can look at what the status of them is. I can also look again in one more place at all of the different projects I'm assigned and the roles that I have. Finally, once your teams have started using the mobile application to collect and send data, you can start to use the web application to review that and to really track what's happening in real time. For each user, when you land in Zite, you'll land on this My Profile page. We've already seen this once, but basically this will tell you sort of everything that's relevant to you. It'll tell you your assignments, what teams you're a part of, what projects you're on, within that project, what sites you might have responsibility for. It'll tell you how many submissions have been submitted and what their status is across all of your different projects. You'll be able to see your own submissions that you've submitted, a map of all of the sites, and then a series of notifications that'll tell you things that you might have to review or submissions that you might have to make. But if I go into one of my sites here, we can see how I can really view things on a granular level. So this is for an individual site, site type 1, we'll call it. On this site, I can basically see everything that's relevant to me. I can see total submissions for this site. I can see recent pictures. I can see each one of my submissions. And I can see form submissions and site progress over time. If I look at my submissions, I can see that all of these are open. So I can know that these are all things that I have to review and that I should try and update. If I click into this first form, what I'll see is I can actually now see exactly what my team submitted. So I've got the site name. I've got the key site information or meta attributes that I'm collecting. And then I've got all of the information specific to this form. This form asked about name, age, date of birth, gender, location. This person's GPS is off. They seem to be in the middle of the photo. And profile picture, which has been left blank. I can review this. If everything looks good, I can say that it's great. But in this case, because I didn't actually capture the profile picture, I can say, I really need you to capture the photo of the user. If I wanted to send additional details, I could add an attachment here to go along with my comments. But now if I flag this and save it, what will happen is these comments will be sent back out to the field user that collected this information, along with my comments. If I click into the history here, we can see the history of each one of the things that has been assessed there. And this will help me track essentially what I've done on an individual submission. And so that basically captures kind of the core of the loop that happens around sort of really granular monitoring of sites. We capture forms, we review them in detail, we look at photos, and then we can see sort of the status of these forms as we approve, flag, or reject them. However, we can also look at the project level. So these sites are all part of a project. I can go into a project site where I can see this information kind of across my whole project. So site by site, I can see a list of where I'm working, how many forms I've completed on each site, and what the status, how many forms at each status I have, what the progress is. We haven't really made any progress yet on this site. I can see a log of all of the activity I've done here. And if I scroll down, I can look at, again, a couple different graphs around submissions and site progress over time. I will have maps. This is not quite built yet, but these maps will basically be able to show me where all of my sites are and what the status is. Beyond the general project dashboard, we can look at all of the different data we've collected. So I can click into data and I can see all of the different forms I've assigned. I can download the responses that I've collected, or I can view that data. In addition, I can export reports about my site. Clicking on the reports tab will bring me to a page where I can look at a series of templates that I have. These templates are basically kind of standard reports that most teams we feel like would use. A project summary, basic site information, progress report, or user and site activities. However, I can also create my own custom report. In this report, I can add a series of metrics such as the number of submissions, the number of flagged forms, the number of users or active users. I can add site information, which again are sort of these high-level meta attributes, or I can add form information. This will allow me to pick a very specific question out of individual forms and then create a report out of that. Over here, you can see the columns that I've selected. This will basically build up the report, and then when I create it, I will have here a sort of preview of what that report will look like. This information can be exported. I can download it as an Excel, as a PDF, or as a Google Earth file. I can also choose to sync it to Google Sheets in this case. We'll probably add additional sync options over time, but to start, we'll be able to sync it to Google Sheets. We can filter this report further by time period, by different kinds of subgroups or site information or user roles. But essentially, this reporting feature allows me to get exactly the kind of information that I need when and how I need it. And with that, that's sort of a basic overview of Zite. It's really designed to sort of go between really granular level actions, submitting individual forms, reviewing them in quite detail, all the way up to higher level review of sort of planning and project management by creating maps, by allowing for creation of custom reports, by allowing to sort of the compilation of data across 1, 5, 10, 100, 1,000 different sites. If you have more questions about Zite, feel free to get in touch with me or visit our website. I'd be happy to walk you through a more specific demo related to your needs and hopefully work with you on improving your project monitoring.